Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8 and Third Reich events. We are currently consolidating our victories in Egypt and starting our expansion into the southeast. We've got supply convoy running in here, which should get them in supply very soon. Fortunately, I only loaded the headquarters, I guess, of the corps and not all the rest of the light infantry, which I need. Okay, and mobile unit command and control. Okay, we'll shift that to the artillery. And small fuel tank research has advanced. Here we need to get that going. Okay, and we've secured Middle East. Now, do we have a we have a resource convoy going out? Got our resource map here. My biggest thing out here is the oil. But I think we will run it out. And we got some oil here too. A little bit. All through Alexandria. It should help our resource capability. Hopefully it'll be safe to move these guys at this point. Got the Italian fleet there. Our successful airborne invasion. Let's see how well they do against the garrison force there. That'll work, and it will move these guys out. The British are smart. They'd be evacuating the Mediterranean. I know we haven't got Spain into the Axis yet. But I hope to. And okay, we just had a bunch more units. Okay. Let's see, I need a couple of more proper mountain divisions, I think. Well, maybe I don't need, but I want. All the way down there, okay. Using horse transport because I don't want them to use fuel. Okay. Getting attacked unit aid in there. Okay, commando training. That's nice. Uh-oh. Well, I guess the Italian fleet helped out there considerably, because I don't think it was the transports there that survived on their own. Okay. Armor plating for landing craft. And now, all of these guys get on board the ship together. There we go. That's good. Rebase down to there. Well, now they made it out of the danger zone. And I want a few more light divisions. Because we're going. And also, I think we need to have a few more transport planes. Now we have a decision to make. Yes, the first SS infantry unit. We'll take that. We're going to patrol here. See what these we can do to help protect the sea lanes. Saudi Arabia trade-off for crude oil. We're going to take that. Mud clears. We can attack again. Snow eases off. Wow. See, we now have a trades route here that comes up through here, so it's not too vulnerable to attack, which is a good thing. Okay, trade interdiction has advanced. Okay, now submarine crew training, so we want to switch over there. Capture British weapons. Yes, we need these. SS motorized infantry, yes. Paratroopers, yes. Okay. Try to get it so you can see the picture. That is a Gewehr 41M. That is, as we've shown in earlier episodes, the Wehrmacht put out the Heereswaffenamt, it would be the Army Arms Office or Command or amped headquarters. Put out a requirement for a semi-automatic rifle. Obviously, the Germans knew what semi-automatic rifles were. The first one, I think, was a Mexican designed one. But for a long time, they weren't, and like the Mexican one, it works just fine so long as all conditions are perfect and everything is great. Otherwise, it doesn't work very well at all. One of the first very, very reliable ones was the M1 Garand. Similarly, also the M1 Carbine. The Soviet SVT, don't know a whole lot about it, but I don't think it has a great reputation for reliability. Not that it's a problem gun, but it's not overly noted for its reliability, at least that I don't know of. Their requirements were that all the moving part mechanisms were to be basically kept internal to the gun, meaning external parts, generally speaking, not moving, and it would have a bolt up, as you can see, a backup bolt action handle here if, for whatever reason, something goes wrong, or just wishing to, I don't know, slow down the rate of fire, that you could operate it as a bolt action weapon, as a reserve backup, and that they weren't to tap into the rifle barrel to deal with the recoil. There's blowback weapons, which, like the MP40 is, in that the immediate recoil of the round going off pushes the bolt back. There's gas operated systems, which generally has a locking breech, and with the pressures of a cartridge like this, you need to have that breech locked in place so it won't move at all when the round is fired. And one really good thing with that is that means the platform is very stable, where like in a submachine gun, even before the bullet is leaving the barrel, you got significant amount of mass within the gun moving, so it degrades accuracy. Obviously, the main thing is contain the pressures, because the pressures of a rifle cartridge is so much more than a pistol cartridge. So a gas operating system normally has a tap on the barrel, in which once the bullet is down past a certain point, some of the excess gas is bled off from the from the barrel, and pushing the bullet down to generally operate a rod that would then unlock the breech and send it back to load in a new round, only once the bullet is past a certain point and is getting near to exiting. They did not want to do that, so you can see the bulbous thing on the end, that's basically over the end of the barrel that fills up with the gas expanding to then do that process without tapping it. That is not a good system to do. As you'll probably note, there are no current production weapons using that system for any military purposes. But that was the requirement for the Heereswaffenamt. to make. And this is Mauser's design. The photo of an original gun, modern photo obviously, and we can support the development, continue development, get a teeny bit of small arms, but just lose a little supplies. That's just basically, you know, continuing to produce. They produced, let's see, 5,000 contract for field trials, you know, so 5,000 weapons. I figured that's 200 supplies, don't know. So we can do that, or no need to. We're going to continue the experiment with it. Don't forget, we're also having in development the Kurtz, a gun for the Kurtz round, which is the short round as well. I'll love it when we can actually manufacture various weapon types with Hearts of Iron 4. Yes, we're going to support these guys just because I want good relations with National Socialists in Switzerland. Voscher was a clothing company. Made various things, including uniforms and badges as well, but they also made women's lingerie. And I just thought this was an interesting period advertisement from the war period. And I'm using that as a choice. Do we spend 5,000 supplies here making civilian goods or not, and just gain or lose the popularity? Well, because I'm constantly building lots of supplies, I can afford to do this, and I'm not in a difficulty at the moment. Obviously, if you are in a tight spot, this could be painful. So that women in the RAD. I'm not a big expert on the RAD, the Reich Arbeitsdienst. Hope I'm saying that reasonably correctly. Before the war, to the best of my understanding, there were female RAD units. Once the war started, RAD service became obligatory for women. The RAD primarily, as I know we've talked about this before, was an outdoors national improvement organization, shall we say. Mostly they didn't work in factories or that kind of stuff. It was a labor service. They did a lot of land reclamation. Germany obviously was starving in World War I, and was one of the main reasons they surrendered when they did. And I think because of the mass mobilization of manpower during World War I, they didn't do a good job in getting increasing the agricultural yields. And when the Nazis came to power, they were planning to go to war again and realized that they needed to do this. So one of the main jobs of the RAD was to do drainage in fields so that they could be better used for agriculture, and do a lot of that type of stuff. They also, I'm sure, worked on road improvements and infrastructure improvements as needed to develop all of that stuff. Now, as the war came about, there were a lot of and the RAD continued some of the basic military training of the that was started in the Hitler Youth. Continued, whether just basic marching and drills, but also rifles and other basic weapon use. Wasn't proper necessarily. You weren't a proper soldier, but you had some more basic military training. But as the war started out, including the early days, they were used in immediate behind the lines labor to repair damaged bridges and field repair type things. And I know, like in the 19th century in the U.S., a lot of the turnpikes or the major roads in the eastern part of the U.S. were paved with logs. There were rails, split, not full round tree logs mostly, but split logs. And obviously that wears out after a while, running even just wagons on them. but they didn't have concrete paving. So I'm presumed that a lot of that type of work went on, and I've seen some pictures of it, and read some stuff on that, particularly in the Eastern Front campaign. The RAD was extensively used to improve infrastructure for moving supplies forward. And when the RAD was deployed outside of Germany, instead of their sort of signature weapon, if you will, which was the shovel, and that's sort of the way they looked at it, that I think that the rifles that they normally had were a few for training, not like one per RAD person, but just enough to, whatever platoon is doing rifle fire for an hour, they'd have the available rifles for that, but not for the whole battalion or whatever. Their weapon was the shovel, in that they were digging to improve the Reich for the upcoming war. They were armed when deployed outside of Germany, whether Eastern Front, or they also worked on some of the West Wall construction and other elements of that. So they did function as a, I don't know if they were often called as to be an active anti-partisan force. They did have clashes with the partisans, but they were definitely defensively armed. And we were just talking light weapons, mostly rifles, maybe a few submachine guns. Well, like I was saying, they had women were obliged to go into the RAD once the war started. Obviously, you can increase or decrease the length of service in the RAD for men and women, though the problem with increasing the length of service for men is you can't use them as soldiers. They're being used as laborers. So this event gives you the opportunity to increase manpower, women in the RAD, and use it in recently occupied zones. They would presumably have been given miminal weapons training. But, if it pick up a heavy rail or something that 2 or 3 men could do it, 4 or 5 women generally have lower upper body strength, can still do it. It's just not a one-for-one trade-off. But so this is, I just wild ass guess, 80 manpower and 150 officers increase, or you could decide not to. There's no good reason not to do it, because you're not draining labor that would be used for the war effort otherwise. Okay, Colonial and Home, another event from Tanganyika. This was a magazine that definitely talked about the former colonies, but also talked about other exotic locations in the world. But tried to focus Germany on the greater world and regaining, and well as regaining its colonies, not just the East. Expand air bases, yeah, might as well. 1% until March. Okay, yeah. Okay, prepare the police for Barbarossa. Is this going to be repeating, or what do we have here? We may have to go in and fix this. Now, let's see here. This is GGA event, and I know he's done a newer version. Okay, these are the 3. Hire police. Right, so I'm going to hit no need here. Hopefully this won't keep repeating. We'll check that out. As you can see here, that's a World War I era MG08, very good machine gun, heavy machine gun. The police were militarized, but they were militarized with fairly old and outdated surplus weapons. Okay, I don't need these twice. Hopefully that doesn't. I'll go see if it adds a negative modifier. Okay, BH Rocco HG 130. Okay, we want this event for sure. More police. Reorganize the air defense of the Reich. Okay, the Reich. Nice fat picture of Goering there. Okay, well, let's... And... So, here we go with an additional... HQ there for... Cam Huber has been moved out to here for that. Okay. We should be... Can I not attach these? Should we attach all these? Nope. No, I guess just that one was missing. And so here we are for garrison troops to operate behind. So we're getting prepared for our operations in the east, which will be delayed, but now I guess that one event isn't going to be repeating. I hope not. Okay, now also I want to, because we're going to be needing it shortly, another ship, real one, ship attacker, ship sinker. There we go, check. We will quickly find your core Z. I have this one here, which we're getting. I'm thinking these guys are going to be operating down here. Okay, divisional HQs have advanced. That is most excellent. And we're going to let it continue on. Researching. Delay between attacks reduced to 7 hours. An order placed. Okay, with Finland. Yes, we'll allow Finland. We want them to have a good air force. Okay, now this is the Gewehr 41W for Walter. Walter, however you prefer to pronounce it. I generally pronounce it Walter. This was Walter's, who he was Walter, both the person and the company. Very good designer. The PP pistols, often PPKs that James Bond made famous. They did their own version of this gun. They ignored a lot of the requirements. It did not have a backup bolt action. It had externally moving parts on the gun when in operation. With a bolt like that, if you have a jam in the gun, you can, under at least most conditions, and jam I'm mostly referring to as powder fouling or dirt in it or whatever that keeps it from functioning, as opposed to an exploded cartridge or other problem, but you can still work the action by moving the bolt. You don't need a specific bolt on it. So this was still used a similar gas trap system out here as well. Not as quite as distinctive as the Mauser version. This was a much better rifle. This and notice you get a larger small arms gain from it. You can decide not to do that, but we're going to. Walther's design is the one that, and we will have events later that will be the one used in future, or based on work will continue. They produced 5,000 for field trials. What was, I think that was here. Okay, 103. Okay, this is a different one. I was sort of worried that it maybe we're repeating, so this is 101. That's 103. Sure, we'll do this. Fliegerführer Africa. Troops need air cover. Yes, they do. And the big thing that I did with these events is just remove a requirement for several of the events that to still happen required that the British still be in possession of, like Cairo or Alexandria. So if you're playing the Let's Play version of the mod, I included some of these changes to these files here. So, but some of the sub mods I didn't do that. I don't know, but that's all that I did is remove it because we are doing an Africa focused, not just a North Africa focused, but Africa focused campaign. And there we are. So we have a cool HQ. We're going to send it over here. Don't know if we're going to ever send a ship over to try to pick it up. But let's do it in a second. Really cheap battalion here. Get a bad general, maybe one with some defensive capability. There we go. Put them on board. We're going to rebase down there because I think I may want to move some of those guys. Okay, I think we're going to end this episode here. We got a lot going on. What are we doing? We're still reorganizing. Okay, and Japan is just being Japan here like before. How's our naval warfare operation going? Oh, these guys are damaged. We're going to let them rebuild before sending it back out. These guys... We're going to do a similar sort of thing. We're going to ship them down. We'll base them to there. So we'll have this guy here. So, sorry. Okay. Let's put him here. Convoy rating. Passive. There. Just I'm thinking about, do I have any more? Yeah. They take out my submarines? I guess their power did, because I don't remember notification for it. So, I guess I must have recently taken out. So I had a couple of coastal submarines operating there. We may need to build some more then. So again, thanks for viewing. Thanks for liking the videos. Please post your comments. Love to hear from you. See you next time.